Last year, after many years of using an Android, I decided to try out an Apple iPhone. I wanted to see for myself how it's gonna be in everyday usage and what the actual differences are. So if you're someone that is coming from Android to the iOS system, maybe you're thinking about getting the next iteration of iPhones or switching now to the current generation, maybe this video is for you. But I'm really curious what side you're on. Are you an Android person, an iOS person, or maybe you're looking to switch things up? So for me, the first iPhone that I ever used as a daily is the iPhone 17 Pro Max in the darker blue color, which is a really color that grew on me throughout the time. And I'll be honest, coming from a flagship device from Android into an iOS-based Apple device with having no other Apple devices at home was a huge unknown for me. So there was a lot of expectations versus reality moments with this phone throughout that year. First off, I have no other Apple devices at home. I use a Windows-based PC, I use an Oppo Watch, which is Android-based, and even my tablet is an Xiaomi Pad 6. So like everything I use is from different brands. Headset, headphones, watches, everything is from different brands. So my expectation was that I'm gonna have a harder time than I used to have with an Android device that had nice connectivity with the Xiaomi 14 Ultra and the Xiaomi Pad 6, with the Oppo Watch, everything being on Android, and Windows being really nicely connected to it. But then I started to use it, and almost instantly I noticed that almost everything works perfectly fine with it. The Oppo Watch actually works even better than it did with the Android phone. For some reason it lasts longer, the notifications are on time, and everything just works as it should, which was a huge surprise knowing how bad it worked in terms of battery life. Another thing is, the quick share that I had on Android, well, I thought it's gonna be one of those things that are gonna be really hard for me with the Apple device, is because this has AirDrop. Androids have the quick share or Xiaomi share, depending on which one you use and what device you have. But let's say you use quick share for everything, which is super phenomenal between all the different devices. But now you have this with AirDrop, and it's not working together. Well, I found local send, so now I can share everything between all my devices from local send, which works perfectly fine. It is gonna be working based on Wi-Fi, so you have to be connected to the same Wi-Fi, but other than that, for what I need at home, quick delivery from my laptop to the iPhone, works perfectly fine. It works across all the devices, Android phones, iOS phones, Windows-based PC, Android tablet, everything works with it. So on that note, it worked once again into the favor and didn't make me feel that I'm losing out on something. Something I was really fearing, that is, this is gonna be a great phone for some things, but because of my ecosystem and because of the things I do, this is not gonna be fully for me. But to be honest, I have to say that I was pleasantly surprised. Another thing is, I was a little bit afraid of all the different shortcuts that I had on my previous phone. For example, at the bottom of the screen you can have the home button, the back button, and I really was using them on a daily basis. Like that was the way I would operate that phone. And I was a little bit, unsure about that on the iPhone, because normally when I used it for testing, it felt not intuitive for me, something like a different language that you don't use that much. But then I started to use it as daily, and it just becomes your muscle memory. So on that regard, it's once again a thing that I was fearing for more than it was actually a problem. After a couple of days, this becomes pretty much second nature. And now I can go fluently between the two. It's almost like having two different languages that you use on a daily basis. Now you're just fluent in both. But it was something I was afraid of. Another thing is the apps on it. I feel like the apps here tend to be a little bit better and a little bit more curated. But it is going to be a more limited storefront than Android. On Android, you can definitely get more apps, you can sideload them, there's so many different things that you can do with the phone that you just cannot with an iPhone. But for everyday user, I think this is not a bad thing, because plenty of us are going to use the phone the way it, let's say, was meant to be. Just a phone with social media, with music, with videos, that kind of stuff. If you're using it as a normal device, then these things are something that you're not gonna really think about. And for me, that is pretty much that. I don't do that kind of stuff. I use this phone mostly for everyday, like social media, scrolling, taking photos on the go, using it as like a traditional way. So for me, that was not a big problem. But I do feel like the apps sometimes are more made for the iPhone, which is a nice thing to have, but nothing that I would say is groundbreaking. Another thing with coming to the iOS system to iPhone was the camera side, and I was a little bit afraid of how it's gonna be coming from a flagship device from Xiaomi, which has incredible hardware capabilities for camera. Like, there is literally a 1-inch sensor and 2 telephoto lenses in it. It was a beast of a camera. And while iPhone's known to be good for camera, I was a little bit afraid I'm gonna actually not like it in the long term. It's a difference when you just test the device and the difference when you use it on a daily basis and you're based on this, doing everything on this. I was a little bit afraid that I'm gonna be thinking about what I had instead of what I have. And I have to say that in terms of photos, it's pretty good. I would say it's a really nice natural looking photos that look quite nice. They look social media ready in a way, but also not too edited. You can always edit that in post. They're really flexible for that. So it's a really nice, pleasant usage. It's a really realistic looking photo, I would say natural looking photo, where the Xiaomi, for example, was much more edited, but it was a really nice editing. I would say this looks really natural, but the hardware definitely is way behind. Like, just the hardware, not the editing, so not the software, just the hardware of the lenses, the sensors, it is behind. I can definitely feel it even on daily basis, like the macro, I have to go a little bit farther, but other than that, for everyday usage, it's pretty nice. On the other hand, the video is incredible. I think the video is one of the best, if not the best, on a smartphone. So for me, that is a really nice thing to have such a good phone for video. It doesn't look over sharpened, even in 4K 60 frames per second, it looks natural. It doesn't feel like a smartphone look, it doesn't have that over sharpened feel to it that other flagship devices tend to have. This feels a little bit more softer. It is sharp, don't get me wrong, but it does feel a little bit softer, which is a nice filming look. It just feels much more professional to me. And one thing I was really excited about when getting the iPhone was the all accessories that you can get for it. Essentially, there is just so many different cases. For example, my favorite case is the Banks Mist case. It is like semi-transparent, kind of like not too sticky, but also you can feel that it's not slippery. And thanks to it being black, it doesn't feel like it's extending more from the screen. It feels like it's just the border of the phone instead of having extra case. So it's a really nice thing to have. Even things like magnetic power banks that charge your phone wirelessly super fast at 25 watts is incredible. Also, you have things like, for example, you can get a case to which you can actually connect a grip, and now you have like a phone that turns into a photography kit. You can even put like filters on this. For example, you can get this nice tripod, and now you have a tripod anywhere you go. Just, magnetically connects to your phone, and thanks to this, it's super easy. Now you have a tripod for when you are on the go. This is just such a nice ecosystem to be in for the accessories alone. There's so many things from lenses, cases, chargers, everything here is such a nice ecosystem. For example, I use this, which is like a 25 watt wireless charger, and that charger is actually magnetic, as you can see, but I actually use it sometimes even without the power, just to have it on my desk as like a stand for my phone, to see my notifications when I'm working on something, for example, to the side of the screen, which is really nice. I mean, recently I even got this, which is like a Kuxu 3-in-1 charger, your earpods, your Apple Watch, your phone, 25 watt charging, so the full that it can do, and it even included an adapter and a charging cable that are fully to the specs of the iPhone 17 Pro Max. So like you can get a full setup in one box. I mean, the ecosystem in terms of accessories, everyone makes for it, and it just makes it such a cool, unique experience. Another thing is that it was not expectation versus reality, is the battery. Okay, there is expectation versus reality here too, because I expected it to be charging for so long when compared to other Android devices that I had before, but this actually charges pretty fast for an iPhone. Better yet, that was out of my expectations. The battery is working really well. Like, it lasts for a full day easily, no problems. It's much better in terms of battery. Even though it's slower to charge than my previous phone, it charges just slightly slower, but also lasts way longer. And usually I can just play a game of Battlefield, and in that time it's gonna be probably fully charged anyway. Overall, I was a little bit afraid going into the iPhone. I thought it's gonna be a situation where I'm gonna miss a lot of things that I had on the Android side, but turned out that it's not bad, and I actually really like the way it works. If I had to describe how it feels using an iPhone, it just works. It just has so many things that are made to work. For example, the contactless payment, just double tap, the power button is already there. Everything is just simplified to make the user experience that much easier. So at the end of the day, I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised. I was much more afraid than I should, and I feel like it's even a great phone for those that don't have the full ecosystem. Would I say it's the best in terms of hardware? Probably no, but on a daily basis, everything works as you would expect. It's a really nice phone to use. So if you're not sure if you want to switch to an iPhone or go to Android, I have to say that iPhone has that feeling of being a nice standard. Everything works. Where other phones tend to have some things that are much better, but other things that are not as good. It always has those advantages, disadvantages, where this it just feels much more like a really leveled device. But let me know what you think about iOS, Android, all those ecosystems, all the phones. What your opinion between those two are? I'm really curious what you think. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.